Mi famildem, una cabo. Bon après-midi, Masal Heri. Dubridin, Uwan, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Onikesi Spencer Coker. Please call me Nikki. I'm the spokesperson for the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations in New York. I will make it my duty and pleasure to be at your service for media relations throughout this month of August 2024, the month during which Sierra Leone assumes the presidency of the United Nations Security Council. Before handing over to His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Michael Imran Kanu, Permanent Representative of Sierra Leone to the United Nations in New York and President of the United Nations Security Council for this month, I'd like to remind all of those who will ask questions to kindly introduce themselves and identify their media organization. To all those in this room, but also to all those monitoring this press briefing from UN Web TV, a very warm welcome to all. Without further ado, I now have the honor to cede the floor to Ambassador Kanu. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nikki. Good afternoon, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I must say it's good to be in the room. I see it on TV all the time, following your engagement, and so it's good to be in your presence, and thank you really for honoring our invitation to be in this press conference. As President of the United Nations Security Council for August 2024, I am pleased to present the Council's program of work for the month. But before going to the program of work itself, allow me to say a few words in my national capacity. On a historic note, Sierra Leone is pleased to assume the presidency of the Security Council, following a return to the Council after 53 years from a previous tenure in 1970 to 1971. We last held the presidency in December 1971, following our initial presidency, first presidency, in September 1970. So it hasn't been a long time ago, and we should be familiar with this. Since then, Sierra Leone has experienced a decade of civil conflict from 1991 to 2000, and 2 decades of post-conflict recovery, peace building, and improving democratic governance. We've achieved all of this working in partnership with the United Nations. And so we say we're here with a unique experience, and that is why we've underscored the importance of partnership, representation, and effective multilateralism to sustain global peace and security. It was only on 26 March 2014, in its 7,148th meeting, that the Council last met on the situation in Sierra Leone. In just 10 years, Sierra Leone will preside over the Council, a remarkable transformation for which we are very proud and humble as well. We are also proud of the vision and leadership of His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, inspiring this remarkable transformation in Sierra Leone's foreign policy. In the Council for the past 7 months, and I hope you agree with me, Sierra Leone has endeavored to be a voice of reason, a bridge builder with balance and objectivity, a principled voice committed to promoting respect for and adherence to international law, the UN Charter, ensure the protection of civilians, end impunity through accountability, and foster dialogue for peaceful settlement of dispute. Now, if you may, I'll just say a few words on working methods. During our presidency, we'll be dedicated to enhancing efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, and inclusivity. We will foster a consensus-building approach, uphold the practices and principles of the Council, and certainly maintain the highest standard of diplomacy and cooperation. With our Women, Peace and Security commitment, we will endeavor to include gender perspective and participation in our meetings as appropriate. Now, on to our signature event for August and a thematic briefing which will convene, Sierra Leone will hold two signature events. The first is a focused debate on United Nations Security Council reform. It will be the first time to have such a debate, and it will address the historical injustice and enhancing Africa's effective representation in the Security Council. It will be a high-level meeting to be held on the 12th of August, and His Excellency President Bio will preside. The briefers will include UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the President of the General Assembly, Dennis Francis, and we'll also have a briefer from academia. The second signature event, which will be an open debate on the 21st August, will focus on the new agenda for peace, addressing global, regional, and national aspects of conflict prevention under the agenda Peace Building and Sustaining Peace. Briefers will include ASG Elizabeth Spearha, the African Union Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Ambassador Bankole Adoye. We'll have a briefer from the Sierra Leone Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion, Ms. Hawa Samai, and a CSO briefer. On 7th August, we'll call the thematic briefing on sustaining women, peace and security commitment in the context of accelerated drawdown of peace operations. We'll have ASG Matapobi, UN Women Executive Director Sima Bahus, and a civil society briefer in the meeting. So now I will wear the hat as President of Security Council, and I'll briefly go through the program of work which was adopted this morning. Today, 1st August, we had consultations at 11:30 after a meeting of the permanent representatives and the political coordinator, leading to the adoption of the program of work. And next week, we'll commence on the 5th of August in a meeting. It will be a briefing on International Criminal Court Sudan. We expect ICC prosecutor Karim Khan to brief. On the 8th of August, the Council anticipates adoption on the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, that's ATMIS, and this will be followed by a briefing on threats to international peace and security caused by a terrorist act. We expect USG Vladimir Voronkov and seated Executive Director ASG Natalie German to brief. Although we would have a Secretary General's report for this meeting, Sierra Leone would encourage members of the Council to focus also on the security challenges in West Africa and the Sahel relating to terrorism in this meeting. In the third week, and moving on to the 14th August, since we'll have the 12th August signature event, which I've described, there will be a briefing and consultation on the United Nations mission in South Sudan, and the briefer is expected to be SRSG Nicholas Haysom. In the afternoon, there will be a troop contributing country meeting on United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, and we'll have the Deputy Military Advisor, Major General Cheryl Pierce, to brief. On 15th August, the Council will have the briefing and consultations on Middle East Yemen. Briefers are Special Envoy Hans Gromberg. We'll expect to have the Director of OCHA, Ramesh Rajasingham, and also General Michael Berry to brief, and he will brief in consultation. In the 4th week of August, the Council will hold consultations on the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, on 19th August, and ASG Khalid Kiari is expected to brief. This will be followed on the 20th August by briefing and consultation on the United Nations Support Mission in Libya and Libya sanctions. OIC DRSSG Stephanie Corey and the chair of the 1970 committee are expected to brief. And on 22nd August, the Council will have the monthly briefing and consultation on Middle East Palestine question. And we expect Special Coordinator Tom Wennesland to brief. In the final week, on 28th August, the Council will hold a briefing and consultation on Middle East, Syria. Special Envoy Greg Peterson will brief, and another briefer for OCHA is expected. On the 29th of August, the Council anticipates adoption on UNIFIL, and this will be followed by consultation on the 1718 committee. That's the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the chair of the 1718 committee will brief. We'll have the monthly wrap-up session on 30th August. As you may have appreciated, there are issues which have not been indicated on the program of work. but for which the Council may be called upon to pay attention to. And of course, I'll be happy to engage on those. Would also expect adoption on UNOCA, that's the United Nations Regional Office for Central Africa, and the continuing negotiations on the requests by the Democratic Republic of Congo and SADC in relation to SAMI DRC. I should note that in the final week, the presidency has taken note of the invitation of the government of Switzerland to Council members to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Geneva Conventions, and this will take place in Geneva on the 26th August. The work of the Council will continue, but of course we accommodated the initiative, and of course we look forward to the participation of Council members in the important commemoration. In the month of August, it is busy with many mandated meetings, but we look forward to having a productive month, and we'll appreciate certainly the cooperation of members, and we look forward to engaging with the members of the Security Council as well. The presidency will be guided by the decisions of the Council, and let me use this opportunity to really sincerely express our gratitude and support to the Secretariat, particularly SCAD, for their support. You've heard from Nikki already, our spokesperson. I'm sure you know her very well, and she'll be available to you to engage with you and answer some of the questions that you may have. This is unorthodox, but let me also use this opportunity to really thank my dedicated team of staff in the mission for their excellent work leading to this presidency. I'm happy to answer questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
In the absence of our president of the UNCA, I'll take the first question right here from the frame. Go ahead.
Thanks very much, Ronike. Thanks, Ambassador. I have two questions, one on Sudan. When you look at Sudan and the way the war is evolving over there, and in the light of what you just said in your introduction about Sierra Leone having gone through this kind of conflict and also witnessed transformation in the past 10 years, what is it that, of your experience, that you bring into this conflict, and how are you going to highlight it in the Security Council? I also have another question on Security Council reforms. We've seen throughout the past couple of years Kuwait and Austria leading the debate on that. We've seen a lot of televised debates that offered a lot of food for thought on these reforms, but we haven't really seen any actual progress in real life regarding those reforms. And looking at the Pact of the Future, that the draft we just read, I know it's not the final draft yet, but apparently Security Council reforms occupy just a small paragraph, and I think all we're going to get is an office at the UN to talk about it more. So how do you plan to highlight this issue more, and also is there a way, is there a vision that you have to towards concrete results regarding this issue? Thank you. Ephraim Kosaifi with Arab News.
Thank you. Ambassador, would you like to go straight to the answer, and then we'll go to the next question?
Yes, I think it will be important to answer the questions and then as they come. Thank you so much for the question in Sudan. Certainly we'll have the meeting on ICC Sudan, which is focused on the Security Council referral. But the first question on Sierra Leone's experience. In the introductory remarks, I said that we went through a period of a decade of civil conflict, and this was followed by 2 decades of peace building and certainly improving democratic governance. Sierra Leone is seen as a success story in terms of the partnership with the Security Council and the UN in resolving our conflicts. But there are many aspects and some similarities with Sudan. So firstly, in terms of resolution of conflict, I think the importance is to stress the need for dialogue, the application of the UN Charter. When our own situation was really dire, at some point in time, it took the dedicated focus of the leadership to call for talks, to engage with then the leader of the rebel faction. Incidentally, it was then President Buyo, who was also head of state at the moment. And that was significant because in every successful peace resolution scenario, you need the process, cessation of hostility, and you need the dialogue to keep that going. You also have to address the humanitarian crisis. We had a situation where in Sudan potentially there is famine. And so having the requisite support and humanitarian access is critical. You have to look at the other component of the crisis as well. So humanitarian, you have to look at the question of impunity, accountability. We had, again, a model transitional justice process of truth-telling and accountability. So we'll bring all of that experience to bear. And Sudan is a concern, but we'll be also very supportive to resolve the conflict and then continue on the peace-building phase. With respect to Security Council reform, of course, this is a priority. It's one of the 8 priorities going into the Council. Sierra Leone holds the high responsibility of leading the African Union Committee of 10 as coordinator on the reform of Security Council. The negotiations on Security Council reform takes place at the UN General Assembly. And so we'll have the first debate on the issue in the Security Council. It's unprecedented. And it's really to elevate the discussion. The discussion in the General Assembly has gone on for a while. But to answer your question on the Summit of the Future, Pact of the Future declaration, I think what you have now in the text that has been circulated is a placement. There is substantive text and negotiation ongoing being led by the co-chairs. And some of the important demands made by the African group, I think, have been reflected in that text, and we will hope that that also will be reflected in the final declaration, because it speaks to rectifying the historical injustice, so mirroring what we'll have in the debate for Africa to be treated as a special case and for Africa to be prioritized. And I think it will be significant for the heads of state and government to make that declaration in the Summit of the Future. Thank you again.
Thank you. Another question? I think somebody had their hand up in the middle. Yeah, go ahead, Amelie.
Thank you. Amélie Bottelier from AFP News Agency. On the Middle East and the escalation of the tension, I mean, there's on the program, there's the usual monthly meeting on the Palestinian question, but do you foresee any other meeting before that, considering the situation is getting more and more tense? Thank you.
As President of the Council, I would say, and thank you, Amelie. As President of the Council, I would say that we have already in the program of work the monthly meeting. And in the engagement this morning, of course, Council members, and including yesterday's meeting, Council members have expressed concern given the situation in the Middle East. What I can say is that we're committed to call for a meeting if it's requested by member states. It's an important issue, and so we'll continue to pay the necessary attention that is required.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Abdul Hamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. First, I want to ask you about your opinion on the ICJ legal opinion about the Israeli occupation in the occupied Palestinian territory. The ICJ said it's illegal, it should be ended. Settlers should be evacuated. Israel has no sovereignty over the occupied territory.